Good morning. I'm here today with the lovely Leandra Ashton of the People's Care Watchdog. And Leandra, for those of you who don't know, is our care ambassador. We've been working together for the best part of our 4 years that PHA has been around. But for the last couple of years, we've all been doing a lot of other stuff. So I just wanted to have an update with you today and tell us what you've been up to for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So the main thing, if we go back to this time last year, we had just handed in a huge piece of work to the COVID-19 inquiry. So we had submitted, with the help of our lawyers, Hodge, Jones and Allen, a, a really in-depth analysis of our experience and our members' experience of what happened during lockdowns. It was pretty harrowing to do that piece of work, I have to say. I don't think I have ever worked on a document so hard. It took us best part of a year to do that document and then to also interview families because we also submitted case studies. So we spoke to many, many families whose loved ones had died under really difficult circumstances relating to do not resuscitates being placed on them, medication, end of life medication being given without consent. And we ended up, I think we interviewed about 18 people. We had about 18 case studies just in that one area. And then we also had all our case studies as to generally what was happening in care homes during lockdown. So it was something else. It was an incredible team effort. There were a lot of us doing it. We had the lawyers supporting us, but we also had volunteers. I drafted in people, a friend of mine who's an ex-police detective. I drafted her in to help with the interviewing because there was just so much and it was so harrowing. And amazing Claire from Lawyers of Light, she also was a massive part of that, of helping us to structure the questions and make sure that it was, a clear legal document. So that we handed
Wow,
that in, and I think all of us just felt like I don't think
exhausted.
there's any words to describe how that felt. Huge relief that, okay, it's now going to be in, on public record. And then also a kind of a sense of, I suppose, anticlimax, disappointment, discovering that the document itself is so buried deep within the midst of that. I mean, there's so much information that has been submitted there, and we don't really know what's, if anything, is going to come from that. So we are going to be publishing that to our People's Care Watchdog website because it's information that
Fantastic.
has to get out there.
This is you are documenting the true history of what's happened because
Yeah.
we all know what happens with the history books, don't we?
Yeah. And I think that's why it feels so important. And also just for all the families that gave us their time and spoke to us and relived really traumatic experiences. And the wider public aren't aware of this, aren't aware of these practices and what went on. And it's really important that people are aware and they can empower themselves and we can do something about this. I mean, it's we've it's pretty dark and murky, but we've got to look in these shadows and we've got to see what happened and make sure that that never happens again. So there's that,
Absolutely.
and I feel what is so important, which is what we always connected over, which was what's the alternative, and so this idea that we can launch the resource packs that we worked so long on, the video that we put so much time and energy into as well, and that, that's coming up. Hopefully, our plan is to do it in June,
Yeah,
because having spent so long in the dark, the dark
absolutely.
terrain, it's important to document it, but we also have to offer solutions. We also have to say, look,
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so
How do we
yeah,
make a change? How do
yeah,
we support people that are going through this? You're right. It doesn't happen. It's exactly why we came together, wasn't it?
yeah,
Through
yeah,
our own personal experiences
yeah.
within the care system. So no, I mean, congratulations on completing that marathon task. And I'm sure that so many of you involved have been left pretty traumatized by the whole
Yeah.
reliving of the experiences.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's sort of it's I think it's taken me about a year to recover from it. And it's still there. You know, I've got to really take care of myself in that part of me that went through that because it's a lot to have witnessed. And I know the word PTSD gets bandied around a lot, but you know, my body reacts when I hear certain things. You know, there's a reaction inside me that's still
Yeah,
there. So I think it's so important for those of us still standing who have borne witness to these things
yeah,
to take really good care of ourselves because it is a marathon,
absolutely.
you know, what we're going through. So yeah, I've been also focusing on my work, my business. I run a business called Flying Cloud, and we go into businesses and we help with communication, presentation skills, but also main thing that we've been working on the last few years is well-being, which has just felt it is so close to my heart and getting really um, kind of down to the really simple things that people can do to empower themselves as a communicator, but also as a human being, what we can do to regulate our nervous systems and help our health. You know, so that feels like incredibly vital work to be going into businesses and working with people to empower them as to um, how to speak up and how to look after themselves. That feels really important.
It's amazing.
Mm.
Um, we'd love you to do that for our PHA members. If we
Yeah,
could put something together, that would be amazing.
yeah.
Definitely. And you're also doing a series of workshops, aren't you?
Yeah, so part of the well-being work has got, I would describe it as quite radical. So we've been working a lot with women in these businesses and helping them not only to understand their nervous systems, but also to understand their menstrual cycles, which is something that is just so taboo and that we don't talk about. And I think it's phenomenal that this business invested in this for a year with their women, and it went so well that they then said, we want you to do this with our men. So we were educating not only the women because we don't know this stuff. There's a lot of stuff around sort of perimenopause, menopause. There's some great resources
Absolutely.
out there for that, which is fabulous. But
Yeah.
you know, there's a woman's whole life cycle before she gets to that point. And how do we work with our biology rather than against it? And what we describe is that within and this isn't our work, this is training that I did with an amazing woman called Uma Dinsmore-Tuli many years ago, that within your monthly cycle, you've got 4 seasons. And those seasons you are spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And you can't be behaving in winter as you would in summer. It's a very different set of
Correct.
chemicals that are going through your body and also what your body needs. But if you start working with those seasons rather than against them, in my own experience of doing that, the most phenomenal magnetic energy results where you start to flow with life. You don't flow against it, you're flowing with
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
you're resourced and you're inspired and um I think what's really powerful about it is that you're it's so much harder to control someone who's in tune with their body in that very intimate way because you know stuff. There's certain parts of your
You
cycle.
learn more about yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
understand yourself more.
yeah. So it was amazing.
Fascinating.
It's fascinating. And it was incredible to do it with the women in the business. And then I have to be honest, you know, I've never done it in the city of London. I've done
Yeah.
it in the wild. I've taught this stuff in the wilds of Yorkshire and these remote
Yeah.
places. But to be doing it in a business was pretty revolutionary. And then to be doing it with the men. I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't know how it was going to go down, but they were fascinated because every man has a woman in his life. And they want to know, like, how do I work with this? How do I help her?
Yeah.
How do I make my life easier?
That's
How do
the
we go
point,
with
isn't it?
this?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But it's really fantastic to hear that business embraced
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's great. It's really moving forward in a positive direction, isn't it?
It is. It
And
is.
that's
And
it. Education.
it's education and giving people a space to explore things and inviting them into a different perspective, which they don't have to take, but you can invite them into it and say, have you
Absolutely.
considered this? And let's just see how it lands.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Amazing. Well, you've been obviously very busy. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, about 5 minutes ago, you and I spent, and some other, of the team, uh, spent some time back in, I can't believe it, 2023, putting together firstly a video about the care system and how it's broken and our ideas for moving that forward, solution based, but also resource packs to help people that are facing this. And let's face it, we're all going to be there at some point or other if we're not already, either individually or for a loved one. So we've got those resource packs almost ready. So, it's time to launch, isn't it? I think there's been so much gone on between when we started this project to now that it had to be the right time, and it feels right now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And also our tendency in the West definitely is speed and fast and do it, super fast. Uh, and I think there is a real value in a slow burn, in a maturation, in allowing ideas to settle, in moving at the right time, rather than feeling this sort of stressy urgency to do something
Yeah,
immediately. If we're not in a good place, or if we've got lots of other things going on, then you can't hold a space to then launch that stuff out into the world. So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm excited. I think the time is right. And
Yeah,
I think what we've created is really valid. So
yeah, agree.
yeah.
So look out, people, for what's coming. The Compassionate Caring in the Community project. We may change that name, but it'll do for now. But it's all about caring for all our vulnerable
Yeah.
people in our communities. So thank you, Leandra. It's been lovely
Thanks.
having an update,
Yeah.
and look out for us soon talking about care.
See you soon, everyone.